Good evening, everybody. Tonight we are going to make, can't really see it up here very well, but elf shortbread. You will need 1.5 cups of flour, 1/2 cup of icing sugar, 1 cup of butter, room temperature, very important, not melted, room temperature. Put it in the microwave for a couple of seconds to get it to room temperature, but not melted, it won't work. And salt. Mind the oven is preheated now to 375 degrees. So tonight we will be cooking with the assistance of a lovely Quail's Gate Chardonnay, a beautiful white wine from the BC interior. So cheers before we get started. Oh, and you'll probably also want gloves because your hands will play a role in shaping the dough, if you will. So some people don't. Christmas nails, gloves, that's my preference. Okay. All right. So we have our 1.5 cups of flour, our icing sugar. Oh, right. This is extra flour. You're gonna want, this is about 3/4 cup of extra flour. Between 1/2 and 3/4 extra to work with the dough once it's made. Okay, salt. It's hard to say how much salt, but somewhere between like 0 and 1/2 teaspoon. I also have almond extract, which you can add. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. You definitely don't have to. It does change the taste a bit though. So just be warned, you'll have a bit of an almondy taste to your shortbread, and some people might not expect that. But it's a great option if you like. The other thing I have, and I don't have a lot of them here, is Hershey's Kisses. So with this shortbread recipe, you can actually fill them with chocolate. Hershey's Kisses, or what works really well is the little foil wrapped chocolate balls that you can get at the dollar store. Just make sure they're solid and not fall out. Our cup of butter, a spatula for working with the dough inside the mixer, a stand mixer. I have the dough attachment on mine, but you can also use this one, but the dough attachment just works a little bit better. So if you don't have the dough hook attachment, the standard flat attachment will work just fine. All right. Now, something new I'm going to try this year. Never tried these before, so we'll see how this works. Cookie press. This dough, so what do we have here? Merry Christmas, a snowflake, and a gingerbread man. This dough should actually work with this fairly well, but it's not a very heavy shortbread dough. So a couple things. No, you cannot substitute margarine for the butter. This recipe works best with actual butter. So we'll put these aside for a second. Move our kisses out of the way. And so what I like to do is dump the butter in first. Off we'll go. Doesn't matter what order you do this. The other thing I've done with the butter is I've actually pre-cut the butter into little chunks so that it's easier for the machine to work with. All right, so that's in the machine. So the next thing we're gonna do is let the machine work with the butter for like a minute or two. So we'll be right back with the next step. And we're back. So what that does is it just allows the butter to get even a little bit softer. So next thing I'm gonna do is take my half a cup of icing sugar, and in that's gonna go. Try to make sure your icing sugar is fresh too. That's a weird thing to say, but like some people don't use a lot, and so it can sit in the cupboard, and so I prefer to use it as fresh as possible. So, okay, so salt. So I'm going with a healthy pinch of salt. And again, everything is going to go in the mixer. Doesn't matter what order it goes in. It's just that everything is going to go in the mixer. Yes, you're not seeing things. I only have one glove on now. It's just I found it easier doing this with just the one this time. At this rate, we're going to be finished our glass of wine before we even start the mixer to mix everything. But that's okay. That'll make the cookies taste better at the end. Okay, and in goes our cup and a half of flour. Now for this batch, I'm not going to add the almond extract. I'm not going to add anything else, just the four main ingredients, which again, to help you out, are 1.5 cups of flour, a half a cup of icing sugar, a cup of butter, room temperature, and again, butter, not margarine, and some salt. So we'll let that go in the mixer, not a specific amount of time, but until everything's mixed together and it starts to form a ball. And then we can move on to the next step. So as you can see, this recipe is super quick, super easy. Another thing with this recipe, you can make this dough, freeze it, de-thaw it, and then work with it again using cookie cutters. You can also work with it right after we're done with this, with cookie cutters, but it does work better if you chill the dough a little bit afterwards if you're gonna work with cookie cutters with it, but it makes a great dough to work with cookie cutters as well. So we'll be right back again with the next step. Okay, everybody, and we're back. So, one thing with the stand mixer and this recipe, you can see, I don't know how well you can see that, but yes, that's flour everywhere. Jeez, things happen, right? When you cook and bake. So, don't put your stand mixer on high right away when you start mixing the dough all together, because that right there, that's what'll happen. Flour everywhere. That's okay though. A little bit of a mess, we can clean it up. And actually, because we need a little bit of extra flour while we're doing this, not an entirely bad thing. So, cheers to spilling a little bit of flour. Okay, now, I have also gone ahead and, as you can see, hello. As you can see, I have peeled the Hershey's Kisses so that we can wrap some dough around them and make the chocolate-filled ones as well as the other ones. So you're going to get to see how to use this recipe 2 different ways. Maybe 3, because maybe we'll make some just plain ones too. Oh, the other thing that works really well with this recipe is maraschino cherries. Take them, slice them in half, and when the cookies first come out of the oven, pop a half in the top of one of these cookies. So good. So many different ways to use this recipe. Okay, so I have a clean counter, with the exception of that flour that we spilled when we first started mixing the dough. That's okay. You can do this on a board, you can do this right on your counter. It's entirely up to you, whatever works best for you, no judgment here. You can even put some parchment paper down and do it on parchment paper as well. But I am going to go right in with some of this flour so that the dough is not going to stick to the counter. So I have a healthy handful. Spread it all around nicely. Again, making sure that your counter is nice and floured. Again, cheers to spilled flour. Okay, so this is what your dough should look like. Right there, just like that. So you should be able to form a ball with it. Oh, well, hello there. We have 2 Chihuahuas. And the one that I just tripped over is Barry Manilow. Barry Manilow hails from Las Vegas. He is, I sound like I'm making a dating app ad for him or something. He hails from Las Vegas. He is 10 years old and a purebred Chihuahua. He is black and brown and loves to go for walks, right? Do you like to go for walks? Yeah? Good job. All right. He loves to go for hikes, does not like to swim, loves to cuddle. So that is Barry Manilow. Oh, all right. So I have formed a log, if you will. All right. Keeping it PG. And there we go. Okay. So now we are going to need a rolling pin. I would section the dough off into chunks, like so. Just makes it a little bit easier to work with. Again, you can take this dough, and freeze it, and just pull it out whenever. I only ever make these at Christmas time, and that's it. It's a one time a year thing. So, if you are going to freeze them, what you're going to want to do, form them into a ball, and then coat them really, 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 really well with flour, because when this dethaws, it could stick to the Ziploc bag or container that you put them in to freeze. Okay, all right. Cheers, and we'll be right back with the next step and roll it out, and we'll start making some cookies. Hi everybody, and we're back. Okay, so while you were gone, I tried to get myself acquainted with the cookie stamper. I gotta say, I'm not a fan. Straight up. Biggest pain in the can say that. It's my cooking show, so yes. Biggest pain in the ass I have ever met. If you have any tips, any tricks on how to use these stamps, that would be great. Here's what I came up with during the break. I don't know how well you can see. That's a snowflake. I gave up on Merry Christmas. So we'll see. These are, there's another snowflake. These are definitely thicker. Sorry, that's the Quail's Gate. Definitely, right, so good. You've got to try it. Again, I've paired this cooking show with Quail's Gate Chardonnay. So good. Another snowflake. Again, these are thicker than what we would normally make. So we'll see. I mean, who knows? There's a first time for everything. On to the cookie sheet with that one. Okay, so the best I could figure out with this bad boy was to stamp it in some flour first. And again, please leave some comments on how I can make the cookie stamper work better. I've made a ball of dough. Peel it off. Like so. Peel off the edges. I mean, it seems reasonable. A little bit, oops, sorry, a little bit cracked, but we'll see. Okay, so that's the stamper that again, not a fan. All right, so let's take a look at how do we work with the Hershey's Kisses. That I do know how to do. So it's super easy. You take your Hershey's Kiss, or again, the Christmas balls that are wrapped in foil, that are chocolate from the dollar store. I think you can probably get them at Walmart too. They come in a bag. As long as they're solid and not hollow, will work just fine too. Okay, so you I like to flatten it out. And with your Hershey's Kiss, like so. Try to get it a little bit more in the middle than I did. And then just wrap a little ball. And then you don't do anything else to it, by the way. You just wrap it in a ball with the chocolate. And that's how these ones are made. Don't flatten it. Don't do anything else to it. These will come out of the oven like a ball, but they'll have the chocolate filling in the middle. A tip with when you're eating these, after they come out of the oven, heat them up a little bit and it will melt the chocolate on the inside, and they're so good. I think I'm gonna switch to cookie cutters versus the pain in the ass cookie stamp. And so stay tuned for that. I'm gonna drag out the Christmas cookie cutters and show you how that works. You need to come back, man. You need to come back. So while we were making our video about how to make elf shortbread, I forgot to cook dinner. Oops. So if you hear some ticking in the background and then a ding, that's dinner in the air fryer. The things you forget as a wife. Oh well, it's okay. It's all good. back to the cookies. I will have you know that while we took this break, I made friends with the pain in the ass cookie stamp. We have 8 cookie stamped shortbread. So those are going to go into the 375 degree oven that we had preheated like 20 minutes ago before this show went off the rails. So in they're going to go. Oh fuck, that's hot. Pardon my language. No, you did not hear that. Okay. So we've called in reinforcements as well. Cookie cutters. So now you can see, bonus, how these cookies can work also with cookie cutters. So really simple. I don't know why the spatula is still here. Away it goes. Okay. So roll your dough. This dough isn't incredibly fussy, so it doesn't matter how much you handle it. Some dough, it doesn't do well if you work with it too much, but this dough is fine. Okay. I guess we'll do some mittens. I don't know if you can see that. Super cute. Everybody knows how to use a cookie cutter. Oh, I don't have an extra pan. All right. Cheers. I didn't prepare that very well. I didn't drag out an extra pan to put those on. But yeah, Christmas tree. I feel like I could sit here all night with the cookie cutters and cut cookies and drink wine with you. But of course that can't happen. So as my shirt says, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make elf shortbread. So one last time, because I didn't plan that very well, I thought you'd be able to see that a little bit better. 1.5 cups of flour, 1/2 cup of icing sugar, a cup of butter. Again, the key to the butter is room temperature, not melted, and not too cold, because it'll your dough will be a little bit hard to work with. And some salt, a healthy pinch of salt. Again, you can add almond extract to it to give it a little bit more flavor if you like. Vanilla works too. What we did tonight here in the cooking show, we didn't add vanilla, we didn't add almond, we just stuck with the 4 ingredients. Here is the ball that we took and added a Hershey's Kiss to. So one last time for that one, just because, what's that? Oh. It was a while back, you know, like 3 drinks ago, something like that. Take your Hershey's Kiss into the middle of the dough, wrap it all up. Oopsies. Roll it into a ball and set that aside. Now I will say that don't cook the, cookie stamped cookies, the ones where you used a cookie cutter and the ones with the chocolate in them at the same time on the same pan. Cook them separately because they're probably all going to take a little bit longer. 8 to 10 minutes-ish. Do not get lost in your wine and forget about them. You want to make sure they're somewhat of a golden brown. You can add icing to them. That makes a great And that makes a great addition to them as well. To do the ones, sorry, I was a little bit thirsty there. To do the ones where you're gonna add the maraschino cherry, make a little bowl, like so, some in the middle, so you got something that looks like that. You're gonna pop a maraschino cherry in there once it's cooked. I don't have any maraschino cherries right now, so that was a little bit of bad planning on my part, but maybe we'll revisit these with the maraschino cherries. So yeah, and again, they make a great, they make a great a cookie with the maraschino cherry in them. The last tip I can give you with this dough for shortbread, you can just simply sprinkle it with icing sugar as well as soon as it comes out of the oven, and that's really good too. Or you can just leave it plain, which is what my husband prefers. He doesn't like the icing on it. He does like the ones with the Hershey's Kisses in the middle. So what he does while he's out working in the elements is he'll heat these up in his work van. He'll put them near the heater, heat them up a little bit, and that chocolate will start to melt on the inside. I'm not a huge fan of chocolate. Don't judge me. But he is, and he loves the fact that he can heat these up a little bit and have them with some melted chocolate in the wintertime. So I hope you enjoyed cooking elf shortbread with me. And probably the next recipe we'll try will probably be something like banana chocolate chip cookies. So good. Banana bread. There's lots of things I've got that I'm planning on sharing with you. So thanks for making elf shortbread with me on this beautiful Saturday night. Again, we paired tonight with Quail's Gate Chardonnay. Great BC wine. So check it out. And our next cooking show will be pairing it with a different wine from the BC Okanagan. We had the opportunity to visit over the summer and brought back 17 different bottles. So you know what that means? 17 different cooking shows. Oh yeah. Plus, we make some great cocktails during the winter as well. Check out blueberry tea. So good. So until next time, happy holidays, and I look forward to seeing you all again.